So it's been a while since I've done a whiteboard video, and for some reason TikTok hasn't been letting me put the text and edit it where the text will actually show up. So, topic, bloody nature. A lot of people, when they discuss the concept of nature v. nurture, there is this common understanding that people have where nature is this fixed variable and that nurture is a variable that is very malleable and can change, thus affecting the end result. Mathematically, that would be something along the lines of your fx equals, I don't know, x to the power of 5. And the thing is, where in this situation, your nature, which is a fixed variable in your concept, would equal the 5, and your nurture equals your x. I'm too lazy to write out the entire thing. And then the concept of u is your f of x. Thus, with the concept going in, you change your x, and then the effect of the nurture, you change your nurture, your x, and thus the effect given onto it by your nature, i.e. the 5, would always be the resulting f of x. Thus, that is the general idea that a lot of people have as far as the relationship between nature v. nurture. But this is the thing. My line of work literally deals with an aspect that somewhat proves that your nature is not a fixed variable. I'm pretty sure that people are generally familiar with the concept known as the blood type, right? Your A, B, AB, O, A neg, O neg, that kind of stuff. Now, if you look at that genetically, that kind of stuff comes around after your genetics influence how you're made. Let's just look at the AB typing, right? So your types that are generally there are your A, B, if I can write a B right, and your O, right? Which then go to you through the standard Punnett square genetic situation, because the thing is, if you're an O, that means you're homozygous recessive, and your A's and your B's are codominant, dominant typings. So you can have someone who is an A blood type who is an AO or a BO, but your ABs would be your AB and your O's would be OO, right? But people don't just say you're AB or you're AB or you're an O type, right? There's the A neg, O neg, that kind of shit, right? Now that negative positive aspect is from another blood typing, because this is your AB blood typing. The other is referred to as your RH type, which is the presence or lack of the RH antibodies on your red blood cells. They're not in your plasma, which the plasma is basically, think about it like your red blood cells are floating around in the liquid. The liquid also has other things in it. So blood is a lot more complicated than a lot of people think. But let's just focus on the blood cells here. But you have your pos and your neg, right? You have your RH positive and your RH neg, which no one really writes it like that. It's usually, pos. At least in my blood bank, it's usually written like that. And the reason that these blood types are so important is because, like I said, in your blood, you have plasma, which is the fluid that your cells are flowing through in your entire body, carrying out all your nutrients, mainly oxygen, throughout your entire body. So your body can actually do the shit. But you want them to flow freely through, like traffic, but flowing traffic. What happens is if you give someone the wrong blood types that don't mix, so if you give someone who's an A, B blood type, a B unit, then all of a sudden the blood cells will start to collapse together all around the B, and it'll make a giant traffic jam in your system. That won't happen necessarily with the O, because the O is really a zero. It's the absence of the A and the B antigens. And the AB typing is the presence of both. Just like how the RH is positive presence of the RH versus the negative presence of the RH, so known RH. And that's a very simple version. There are 13 other antibodies and antigens within the blood system that are common. And that's before you get to the weird stuff like Bombay type. And for most people, whatever your blood type is, like for me, I'm an O-neg, right? I'm an O-neg blood type. The thing is, when it comes to it, most people, their blood type stays the same. However, there are situations where your blood type can change. A common way that it can change is that if, say, for example, if you are not someone who is within childbearing capacity, you can be given Rh positive blood if you're an Rh negative person. The reason is the ABO typing is technically more dominant, and if you're dealing with a life or death situation, you just want to have the thing, we'll deal with the generation of Rh in your system later, because right now we're trying to keep you alive. But then the thing is, years later, all of a sudden my blood type changes. I'm no longer O-neg. I'm now O-pos. And that's not the only way that that kind of situation can change. There's a far less life or death situation that'll also have that occur with. And that again goes alongside with pregnancies. Because when you have someone who is pregnant, you will have someone, because if you're dealing with someone who's pregnant and they're Rh negative, say they're AB neg, which is roughly about 3% of the human population, what'll happen is if they're pregnant with any fetus that is Rh positive, their blood will act up and it'll kill the fetus. So there's a medication given, RhoGAM, which will temporarily change the Rh type. In fact, until the invention of RhoGAM, there was actually a point in time where if you wanted to get married, they would actually have you do blood tests to get a marriage certificate in this country. It was a weird window of time, and I know my mom had that happen to her. But again, that's not the only thing that can change your blood type. If you have a marrow donation or a transplant in general happen to you, if you have an organ transplant, that can change your blood type. It's more common with your bone marrow transplants, but it can happen with transplants in general, your heart transplant, all of that. Your life events can change your physical structures. And it's not just in your blood. There's a whole part of epigenetics just on twin studies that you can look into about how, yes, sure, they'll act the same in some ways, but their nature has changed. The different locations that they were growing up in, their different environments have affected their DNA, which kind of changes this aspect, doesn't it? Because your nature isn't a fixed variable. Your nature can change. Instead of a 5, it's a G. And just imagine how much more difficult that equation is than it was earlier when it was x to the power of 5. Educate, agitate, and organize. Solidarity.